We'd like to welcome each and every individual to Voices of Integrity podcast for Coffee Connections. And it's going to be an interesting session today. There might be a working session. We'll see on that. I've got so much stuff going through my head, pulsating through my head, that I'm like, ooh, this could be gone over, this could be gone over. But before we get to my stuff, Nate, what would you like to accomplish today?
I would like information on how to set priorities as a business owner.
So I would go ahead and set them based on two things. I would set them on your ROI, return on investment of time first and money second. So when you go ahead, and I've mentioned in the past about the secret about time. And so Anita, it might be good to go ahead and you could put in the table of contents down here, the secret about
Mhm.
time, have Adam do that. And
Gotcha.
um, so when you invest, when you do an activity, you're investing time. Is that activity going to give you back more time?
Mhm.
And so that I think is the number one priority. I mean, it could be money. Like, is that activity going to turn into money? So it depends kind of where you're at in your business. But time and money are the two most important things that you get a return on investment on. So if you're putting in 3 hours, are you going to get 3 hours plus something back? If you don't, you're going to run out of time. And then you've got the other piece, which is short term versus long term. And so that's going to also be a very important piece of your decision making process on prioritizations. So there's things that go ahead and produce short-term benefit, and then there's things that produce long-term benefit. And if you don't make it through the short term, Nate, there is no long term. And so that the short term is the most important to get through. But most of the time, business owners, I was just talking on another podcast about this week, about how business owners are in a perpetual short term. So my 9 businesses and me seasonally, like I'm in a season in life where I don't have to go ahead and focus on, I don't need to make money. That's a nice place to be. And so, but that took a lot of hard work and a few decades of work to get to that point. And so the key is what you're looking for is, how do I invest in the short term that brings long-term benefit too? So your personality, you test it out as a double amiable, and then driver and expressive. So your amiable is going to be focused on the short term and making people happy. That's one of the reasons you've had the success you have, is because people, and that's good. One of your weaknesses, though, is people will take time and they may not give you time back. They may cost you time and they may cost you money. So as a double amiable, you might have to say no to people. Your secondary is expressive and driver. So the expressive personality, they're going to be in the short term as well, or present, living in the moment, a lot of energy. The driver is going to be in the long term. I'm not saying you're not analytic, but Lakeisha is definitely analytic. My gracious. She's beautifully analytic. Like, she loves being analytic. She might not be listening to me now. And that's fine. And so the analytic learns from the past. At least that's the theory on what they should. So in the ideal world, we're learning from the past, looking to the future, and living in the moment, considering what we've learned from the past and into the future. Does that make sense, Nate?
Yes.
Anything else you wanted to accomplish today?
No, that was it.
Okay, cool. Lakeisha, are you with us? She
Yeah,
is
I'm
here.
back. I'm back. I'm sorry.
No worries. I was just telling everybody how much you love being an analyst.
I heard you
How
talking
did
about
you?
me, and I'm
Okay,
sorry. I had to take a
good.
call
No,
during this call. Sorry
it's
about
fine.
that.
No worries. What would you like to accomplish today, ma'am?
I just like the fact that I can get on here and see Nate and Anita again. Saeed, have we seen each other before? I'm so sorry if we have and I've forgotten. But yeah, I like being on the call and I get to mess with Mark, once a week. Why not? This is
All
a really good thing for me. So I have some things that are coming up that I would love to say that I want to see it accomplishes things. So I'm posting for upcoming workshop that I'm doing. So trying to put those things out there and getting good leads for that. I'm supposed to be going out of town, hence why I wasn't on camera. So I'm over here trying to pack to get ready to go. I have some assignments scheduled for tomorrow, but just balance, I think it still goes back to Mark, what we talked about before, being able to clone myself. I've actually started to consider Anita getting me a virtual assistant or somebody because I think I'm down to that point. I don't know, Nate, if you have those sorts of issues, but yeah, I'm just needing some other people to be able to help me out. I know you've sent me the 30 minutes, Nita. You sent me that information. And it's not, Mark, that I don't have time. I just have not made time. You like that? To be able to look at it. It's not,
right. It's
I
not,
haven't made the time to
right.
do it.
It's not a high enough priority. So everything, we have 1,440 minutes every day. We have 10,080 minutes every week. So anything that we don't get done, everything in those 10,080 minutes was a higher priority. So
Mhm.
that's just the truth. And
Mhm.
so one of the things that I think would help Lakeisha a lot. So before you invest into an EVA or a VA, and there's a huge difference, before you
Yeah.
invest into either one of those, I would for sure recommend that you do the business x-ray because
Okay.
that's going to help you understand um, where and what type of a VA or EVA you're looking for. And so in here, you have marketing. How do you generate more and better leads? Area
Mhm.
2 is pre-sales. Once you get a lead, what do you do with it? Area 3 is the sale. That's the yes or the no. Area 4 is servicing. How do you create a raving fan experience? And then area 5 is how do you create lifelong relationships? And so you have those things there. Um, so you have those things there. Let me get this here. Um, and so let's say that somebody wanted to go ahead and, their wow income goal is 1 million. Um, you could have 4 out of the 5 pipes at 1 million. But if one of those pipes is only at 50,000, you're only going to do 50,000. So with the business x-ray, it's going to help you and understand like there's 1 million things, Lakeisha, that you want to do, and 2 million things that other people want you to do, and 10 million things you could be doing. And you know what? They're all good things. They are. But the hard part, and that goes back to Nate's, question is prioritization is you're not finding good things to do in business today is not hard. That's easy. But good things can put you out of business. You got to figure out what are the great things to do and being able to do it. So there's somebody that I was talking to just this last week, and he said he put $500 a month into SEO and those types of things, and did it for 6 months and didn't get any return. It's not that what he did was wrong or bad. It just he didn't do it in the right order. So a lot of stuff in business, a lot of stuff in business is like a phone number. You can have the exact same numbers, but if you transpose 2 of the numbers, you get a totally different destination. So in business, and that's why the business x-ray, people spend tens of thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars on things, but they're not putting their time or money into the best thing. And so you have what the business life x-ray will do is it will help you to understand, where do I go ahead and invest my time and money that's going to give me the best return, both back on my time and money, going back to what we were saying with Nate. Nice. Anything else, Lakeisha, you want to cover? Awesome. Always good to have you on. And then Anita, getting out. I don't know if Nate and Lakeisha have any friends or not. Maybe they don't. Like, I don't know. Lakeisha seems like a nice person, so I would think that she would have a lot of friends. So I'm introducing her to all my friends, but I don't know why she's not bringing on, people that she knows onto this. The only thing I can think of, she might not have any friends, which is fine because I have an abundance of friends. But how do we go ahead and help them? How do we help them invite other people, Anita, like the 3-minute survey? So they could go ahead and say, you could give them the 3-minute survey, Anita, and you could say, hey, we do this really cool thing. We do this really cool thing and on personalities. So it takes 3 minutes to do a personality assessment. So you give that to Nate and Lakeisha. And then what they do is they go ahead and they send this 3-minute personality survey out to everybody they know, every business person they know. And then what they do is when they were referred by, they would just put, Nate or Lakeisha in here. And then
Absolutely.
what we can do in a podcast is we can take a look at whoever they introduced. We could take a look at their personality and Lakeisha's, or their personality and Nate, and I can tell you magical things about that person, or that person could just jump on. And so I think you all had a 30-minute, what's called a 30-minute gift strategy session, on your personality. So when I pull up like Lakeisha, here it says she's an amiable, analytic. So is she really a nice person? She seems like she's a nice person. So she is amiable, very nice. Right?
I think so.
And there's no question in my mind that she's very analytic. And then on the pain quadrant test, she tests out as a driver, or as an analytic driver personality. And so there's no question in my mind, she's also a driver personality. Now, what doesn't show up on the test, but definitely shows up when she's in person, is how expressive she is. And so you get these different, you get an understanding of the different pieces and personalities, and how do we work, and how do we interact, and how do we bring value to people. And it's a lot of fun in being able to do that. What would you like to accomplish today, Anita?
So first of all, completely off the subject, Gina emailed me and she said to tell everybody hi.
Hi, Gina.
So in an earlier conversation this afternoon, you mentioned something about the learning I'm not sure if I can say it like you did.
Modality.
Learning modality.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
there's 3 different types of learning modalities. There's visual learners, verbal learners, and kinesthetic learners. So people learn based on 3 different modalities. This is very important in business because it helps us to understand how we should sell and market to somebody, how we ought to service somebody. So if it's based on how the brain's wired. So visual learners are going to be people who learn by seeing, reading something with their eyesight. Verbal learners are going to be people who learn by hearing things. And kinesthetic learners are kids that they put on Ritalin. Seriously, it's a sad thing. It's where you touch things. So you touch things and that's how people learn. And so the most predominant learning modality is visual. The second is verbal, and then Montessori schools are going to be often kinesthetic. So the kids who learn by touching, it's literally by touching things and doing things. And so how do you tell what somebody's learning modality is? There's a couple of different ways. One is you can go ahead and ask them a question, a memory question. And so we could do it with Nate here. And so Nate, like, what's in it? You don't have to tell us what the experience is. Just think about it. What's a really cool experience that you had that you just really enjoyed in the last week? Again, you don't have to tell us what it is. Just think about what that is. Tell us when you thought about it.
I thought about it.
Okay. So there's a good chance, and we have a primary learning modality and we have a secondary learning modality. So primary, I could be visual verbal, I could be kinesthetic auditory. And so I could be either one of those. So Nate's eyes went to the left. So if your eyes go to your ears, either your left or your right, you're probably an auditory learner. You learn based on hearing predominantly. If you look up into the sky, you're probably a visual learner. And if you look down to retrieve memory, you're probably a kinesthetic learner. So when you go ahead and use that, you use words in your marketing. You can use words verbally or otherwise. So when you're talking to a visual learner, you'd go ahead and how does that, what does that look like? What do you see in that situation? So you're using visual words, and when you use visual words, you resonate with that person strong. Verbal learners, you'd say, how does that sound to you? Are you hearing what I'm saying? So you use visual or verbal in the auditory. And then kinesthetic, you say, how does that feel? And so when you learn somebody, you will connect with somebody better if you go ahead and understand their learning modality. You can also listen and the words that people use. So if somebody, you said, what'd you do last weekend? If you listen to the words that somebody's saying, that can often reveal too. Like, what did you do this last weekend? If they use visual words, they're a visual learner. So they experience life through their vision, through their eyesight. If they're verbal learners, they're going to go ahead and do it more through sound and what they hear. And then auditory, they do it through, or kinesthetic, they do it through touching. Like, I felt this is what we experienced, all of those type of things. So the first 15 years of my company, so we've been in business now 34 years, the first 15, 20 years, everything I did was over the phone, everything. And so there was no Zoom back then. This was, so everything was done over the phone. So some have said to me that I have a photographic auditory memory. And so when I'm listening to people, it's not just the words, it's their tone and their energy and everything. So I'm listening. Sometimes I can go ahead and not even like remember what somebody said, but the essence of what they're saying, their energy, I can't. So I almost listen to energy as much or more than I do the words, because the energy is really, really important. So I spent 15 years on the phone talking to people, selling people, servicing them, coaching them, didn't see them at all. So it's almost like, in a way, kind of like a blind person. So a blind person can walk into a room and can see more than people who have eyesight because their hearing senses are so attuned to what it is. So when we are weaker or blind or deaf or something, our other senses increase. So this is really important in everything that we do in business and being able to understand people. Questions on any of that?
Do you think it's possible that when someone's thinking, it's whether or not they're visualizing, listening, or kinesthetic, meaning like at the time of, not necessarily their personality per se, but if they're trying to visualize what they saw when it happened. Are they trying to remember what they heard when it
Yep.
happened or what they were doing?
Yeah. Yeah. That's why you look at memory. That's why you look at memory. Um, that's why you take them back into a memory, because that's exactly what's happening. This is also a little trick that you can do if you want to tell if people are lying. So what you do is you go ahead and ask somebody, you ask somebody a memory question that they're going to have to go into their memory. And so if they go into their memory by looking to the side, like what's your favorite food? People probably are not going to lie about that. So you have to ask somebody a question about a memory, and they might look to the left or the right. So that's a memory, that's a real memory. And then you ask them the question that you want to see if they're lying about, and does it go to the left or right, or does it go up or down? If it's going up or down, then what they're doing is they're making up a memory. It's a different part of the brain. So it's kind of like a lie detector test that you can do.
Interesting.
Yeah. Oh, there's a lot of fascinating stuff. Nice. Saad, anything you have, sir?
No, Mark.
Okay. Anybody else have anything else that you want to cover today? So what you want to do is think about, who do you know that would be interested? Who do you know that would be interested in, it could be the modalities, like who would benefit from that podcast. Check with Anita. She'll tell you where it's processed and where you can get the podcast from this. So who would be benefit in prioritization? Or who would go ahead and benefit from the learning modalities? Or who would benefit from the 530 grid and understanding the different pieces? One of the things that Anita's asked about, and I've told her it's fine with me. And so I have, over the years, not that I'm old, but over the years, I have created literally thousands of models. So one of the rules that I have is, if I can't answer a question, any question on any topic, anything, in 3 minutes or less with a model, then I don't have a deep wisdom or understanding of that topic. So Anita asked if I might be willing to go ahead, and these go back decades. This is one of the first principles I ever learned back when I was 24 years old, the roller coaster principle. So these are pretty cool. You probably aren't going to learn them in Google. Google doesn't going to have these. You're not going to learn them in any college course, or probably not going to learn them in any book. You just probably won't. So there's literally thousands of these. And so Anita said, hey, would you maybe like to do, one or two of these models, a week on the podcast? I'm like, sure, why not? So that might be some things coming up. And there are some really cool things about business and about life and about relationships. And there's, as you can see, I just did this, the learnability model. And so, so there's, again, thousands of these that are pretty cool. So how do you bring value? How do you bring value to people? So you want to have a database of all your people. And then how are you going to bring them value? So how are you going to bring the value? So you need to develop. So you want to put them in a database, and it could be in a CRM system. It could be like, even Gmail has groups of people. So you want literally hundreds or thousands of people in that database. And then if you go ahead and create a message, that creates opportunities for you. If you bring value to people, they're going to go ahead and be interested in participating in whatever you're interested in your products and services. So again, you can use this podcast as a mechanism to bring added value that's pretty unique. Like, there's not a lot of people that are going to go ahead and have much of this stuff. So it's very unique. It's very different from other things that are out there. And that brings value to you as well as other people. If you have any questions on anything we covered, connect with the individual who invited you to participate in today's session, or you can call toll free 888-230-2300, outside the US 630-393-9909. And always remember, we can accomplish so much more together than we ever could on our own. And always on the before and after, that's when the real fun. Always come early, always stay late, because that's where the real fun is. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.